and then effect.
Oh, he was doing so well. Hey guys, Eternize here. Today we're gonna rate production and mixing advice from popular YouTube channels. It's gonna be all round and hardstyle related. I'm gonna be as fair and objective as possible. This video is genuinely not to bash anybody. I do, however, think it's important to be critical of the information you consume from videos like this, because in my experience, people are given advice on a lot of stuff without actually telling you the reason behind it. But I hope we're gonna find some great advice in these videos. I have 3 videos we're gonna go through, so let's just jump straight into it. The first video is from the channel In The Mix, and he is talking about general production advice.
This is the best way to mix competing tracks, and it's the most common question I hear. While there are lots of plugins designed to help carve space between different tracks, and you can use EQs and dynamic EQs to attenuate and boost the same regions on different tracks to try to carve space. But the reason it's so difficult to get all of these competing elements to fit together in the mix is because the problem cannot be fixed in the mix. This is one thing that really has to be fixed in the arrangement and production, and nobody likes to hear that. It was so annoying to hear this when I was starting out, or even for many years. But listen to any of your favorite records. Notice how all of the elements groove around each other, fit in the pocket, and they're all working with the arrangement. Once this mindset shift sinks in, your tracks are going to sound so much more confident, they're going to have a lot more purpose, they're going to groove well, and they're going to pretty much mix themselves. Lots of the presets you use, like synthesizer presets, they're so full range with bass, mid, and treble, and they sound amazing. You're not going to be able to stack too much on top of it. You've got to make some compromises if you want to let the song breathe and do what it's supposed to do as a song.
100% true, and he's making some really good points about the amount of elements you try to fit in a mix. At some point it's just too much, and no matter what you do mixing wise, you just can't seem to fit everything in. Also the point about synthesizers. In hardstyle we have the leads and the kicks filling out the entire spectrum, and so it's very limited what else we can fit together with it. So pick your sounds wisely and only pick the sounds that's actually necessary for your mix. Don't fill your mix with a bunch of unnecessary sounds.
A more practical tip, this is how important it is to check the phase of your samples if you're going to be layering them, especially in the low end. I've got a whole video about this, but really quickly, if you literally zoom in on the sample, say you're layering 2 kick drums, you can see the waveforms go above and below this central line. Just make sure that at the same time they're both going up and down, because these will reinforce each other. If the 2 waveforms are opposite, they're actually going to cancel each other out, and no amount of processing, EQ, compression, distortion, anything you lay onto it can help, because the 2 waveforms are canceling each other out before you've even started.
Once again, very true. This is relevant for a lot of electronic genres. In hardstyle, this is mostly relevant when making hardstyle kicks. You have to make sure that there is no overlap between punch and tail, or that the transition from punch to tail is phase aligned as demonstrated in this video.
Soloing your channels is great when you're learning effects or you're learning processing, but when I'm actually mixing, this slows me down because it's so easy to make things sound good in solo. You know what it's like, you mix something that sounds amazing, you play the rest of the tracks, and it doesn't fit in. You have to make a load of adjustments. So what I try to do, and this is really difficult and disorienting at first, is playing that track in the context of everything else. If you're mixing the snare, keep the rest of the drums on while you're adding the effects.
I can get behind that, that's a good tip. It's very true what he's saying. You actually shouldn't care what your individual channels sound like solo. Your track is not a solo instrument track, it's an entire arrangement, right? So focusing on making it sound good in the arrangement instead is good advice. Alright, In The Mix. From what I've seen, solid advice, good reasoning and good visuals. He's getting a 10 out of 10. Next, we're going to take a look at on-point samples. I've honestly never consumed any videos from this channel. It has nothing to do with this specific channel, it's just I don't consume videos from any of these music channels. And it has to do with what I explained in the beginning. Most of these channels are showing you, right? They're not teaching you, they're showing you how they create their sounds. They're not really teaching you the theory behind it. But let's see if we can learn something here. This is a beginner's tutorial on hardstyle.
So before I dive into making a hardstyle track from scratch, I first want to show you a few things that you have to know. When I load up Serum like this, you start off with one oscillator. So you can open multiple oscillators. You have the sub oscillator, oscillator A and B, you have a noise section, so all this is oscillation. Then you can pull an oscillator through a filter like this.
And this is interesting because I don't use Serum, so this plugin is new to me. So let's see if he manages to teach me how to use it, because again, this is a beginner's tutorial.
Select any of these 4 oscillators that I just mentioned right here, and they will also go through the filter. Then you can change the filter, and I'm not going in depth, but there's a bunch of different filter sounds. After you've added that, you can also go to the effects right here, which happens after the generation and this filter. And you can add stuff, so you can add distortion.
It's a good thing that he mentioned the order of the signal through the plugin, that it starts with oscillation and then goes to the effects section.
You can add distortion. You can add a compressor, you can add reverb, delay, you can add another filter. So this is just a copy of this thing here, but then you can change it so it's a different one. It's important to note there's an order. So if you add distortion, it's first going to get distorted, then you get delay, then you get reverb, and then you get a compressor. If I first add delay, the delay will get distorted. You know what I mean? So understand.
Once again, he's explaining the order of the effects chain. That's very good.
The same goes for this mixer channel here. If you add distortion first and then reverb, it's an order of plugins. The final thing why Serum is so dope is because you can add envelopes, which is a shape that will hit every time you hit a note. Then you can assign any envelope to any knob in Serum. That's why it's such a good plugin. You can add it here, you can add it there, you can add it there, you can add it wherever you want. Then you have LFOs. These will just move, you know, so if I add this to the volume, it's going to wobble. I can change the speed. I can change the thing going from to quantized to like a random seconds hertz thingy. So I put it on trigger, which means it starts LFOing whenever I trigger it, or on off and it's always moving no matter when I play it, or envelope and it's only going to play it one. So that's how Serum kind of works, okay? So Hardstyle.
Okay, he went a little bit vaguely over the envelope and LFO section, and these sections are really important in Hardstyle. So I would have liked if he'd spent a little bit more time here. He did touch on the rate and triggers, which was good, but he went over it so fast. If I was new and I didn't have the experience that I have watching this video, I wouldn't know how to use the LFO section from this. So this guy is quick about it.
So if you want to make a lead, so let's just load up the lead here from our melody pack and enable mono, so it's just going to play one note. And then you can add one thing, unison and detune, which is going to be called a supersaw. And most leads are a supersaw, and they sound like this. You can add another oscillator on top, and this is going to be detuned a little bit. I can also load in our chords from the melody pack. And if I just disable mono, it's going to play every note because we have multiple chord notes. Let's make it less detuned. Go low. Now we have our bass as well. And now the filter comes in handy because we don't need the highs.
Once again, I understand the things he's doing even though I don't know this synthesizer very well. But if you're new to producing and this synthesizer, you wouldn't learn anything from watching this. This is too little explanation and too fast execution.
In this part of the video, I wanted to explain kicks. A kick is made out of a punch, reverb, and a crunch. So if you have those 3 elements, you can make a good kick. It sounds like this. This punch is made out of this, combined with a click, combined with a bass. Okay, so together, click bass, punch, without the bass. It's important, right? So this is how you make a punch. Just find a raw sound, get a click, which you could get from a snare, and just make it very short, and a bass, which is just a kick, and then you take the bassy part. Now the reverb, generally the key of this punch needs to be the same as the reverb. And then finally a crunch, which is gonna mold together right here.
Good explanation, and good that he shows the different elements of the kick.
You see the setup here. So these 3 parts, the full punch, reverb, crunch, go into one channel. This is what you want to do as well. Separate them in the mixer and get them together. So in the together part, we're gonna upgrade the kick. So remember me talking about an inflator. Why you want to use an inflator is because it just improves the kick, as you can hear, okay? So without, over 0 dB. Let's clip that to 0 dB when I enable it. And then effect. More power. And then we add soft clipper in front. Always want to do that with your kicks.
Oh, He was doing so well. He was doing so well.
Then you want to add Pro Q3. Just make sure that it's a nice brick wall like this. Stereo placement, side. We're going to make sure that the sub is mono. Finally, to improve the transient, you want to load up a transient shaper, add some attack, add a pump at a very high speed. It's just going to affect the punch only. But as you can imagine, when we push it too hard with the soft clipping and the clipping in general, we're going to just make it one brick wall. We just want to make sure that we have some transient in the kick. You can hear the difference, especially when I do it more. And it's very important that you understand this setup. Always add an inflator, soft flipper, EQ to boost the sub or not, EQ to put this on the side, and a transient shaper to improve the transient. Before, lots of dynamic range, not properly blend together. You want your kicks to look like this. Before, after.
Why should it look like that? If there's a reason for it, why not tell us? I can tell you why. It's because it's easier to fit in your mix with no dynamics. If your kick has dynamics, it's harder to mix, but it's not impossible. And this is what I'm talking about. This guy is telling you to apply this chain to all of your kicks. I'm telling you, if you apply this to all of your kicks, you're gonna ruin 99% of them. This works for this case in his video. Actually, I don't even think it worked at all. I think the before example was better. All in all, how did on-point samples do? We gotta give him credit for what he got right in this video. He did well in a good chunk of the video. Unfortunately, he also fell in the trap of not telling us why he's doing certain things. And he kinda did that kick dirty. We give him a fair score of 6 out of 10. The last channel is Streaky, and I believe he's big on mixing and mastering. In this particular video, he's showing how to process low end, so let's see how he's doing.
In the normal way, I'm going to use the Pro Q4 because it's got a spectral mode on it. So what it's going to do, it's only going to duck the actual frequencies that I need rather than all of the frequencies in the low end every time the kick comes in. Let me just show you how we set that up. First of all, I'm going to do a low shelf. So if I grab that and just bring the dynamic down to about 3 dB. And so now what I'm going to do, I'm also going to select that into spectral mode. And then what that will do, that will just make it so it's grabbing the frequencies rather than the whole band. So next I'm going to go to the sidechain. So now I've selected the sidechain at the top. I'm just going into the EQ. I'm going to select the sidechain here so it knows to react to the sidechain coming in. I'm going to adjust the attack and release time. So I'm going to have a quick attack and a quick release, but then I'm going to pull the release back a touch so that it just holds it a little bit longer, because that way it doesn't come and move too quickly. We get a nice movement with it. I'm also going to put this into linear phase mode because I like the sound of that in the low end. When I'm doing bass stuff, it just makes it a lot tighter sounding. So the spec.
Okay, so he's putting it to linear phase mode, which I fully support for low end. That's a good idea. But then he says that he's doing it because he thinks the low end feels tighter in linear phase. That's a very vague explanation, and in many cases it can actually be the exact opposite, where zero latency is the tighter option. What he should have said is that manipulating the low end with an EQ in zero latency will change the phase relation of the low end material. And that's why we use a linear phase, not because of a feeling he has. I did like though that he increased the release and he explained why he did that, so that was good. Okay, so now he grouped the kick and bass together and he's about to process them together. Let's see what he's doing here.
Grab yourself a multi-band, so get yourself, let's go for obviously FabFilter. You can use any multi-band compressor though. Now what we're going to do is again put this into linear phase, oversampling to 4.
Wait. Why are you putting the oversample to 4? Hopefully he's explaining why he's doing this, because to me there is no reason why you would use oversampling on a group of low-end material.
I'm going to grab the low end and we're going to put that to about 150. We're going to do a fast release. We're going to do a kind of slowish middle attack. And we're just going to leave that. So what we're going to do, we're just going to now, after we've got them working together with spectral EQ, we're now going to grab them together so they're really moving with the track. So now check this out. So So you can hear that just now, the whole low end is tight, it's together, and it's really moving with the track. So the whole track is an absolute joy in the low end now. You also notice that I just pumped the level up by 1 dB so that I could really get some movement in that Pro MB, which really then helps the low end get some groove. So we
Okay, first I can see from the spectrum analyzer that the multiband here in the end is actually used on the full mix. So using the 4x oversampling is completely fine. But then what he's doing is that he's raising the low end band of the multiband compressor. And his reasoning for that is to get the groove going. Again, he likes to talk about feelings here, but for somebody not experienced in mixing and mastering, this tells you absolutely nothing about what he just did. What actually happened is that he raised the low end band. So now we have more low end going into the compressor, and then the compressor is doing the work to bring the low end down to a controlled level. So instead of being compressed from the baseline and down, it is being compressed from the gained low end and down. So the net outcome is actually a more constant low end, not more groovy. And that's what I mean. He should be the one explaining this in his video. Now, I'm not saying that it's the goal of every music channel to educate the viewers, but if you are interested in actually learning something from these videos, it's your responsibility to be critical of who's actually teaching you this stuff rather than just showing you. Now, the content of what he's showing is actually really good because both of these techniques for mixing low end is S tier. It's just the delivery that's not the best if you're actually looking to learn from these videos. So he's gonna get a 7 out of 10. Not too bad at all. Guys, don't forget to upload your demo on my website. At the end of the month, we're gonna be doing a demo review session, and if your track is selected, you'll be getting some nice feedback and potentially win some prizes. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.